You wake to the sound of soft splashing, somewhere between a whisper and a heartbeat. The air smells of damp reeds and crushed lilies. A group of Aztec workers kneels on a half-finished chinampa, their hands caked in mud the color of chocolate, faces streaked with sunlight and focus. They're building another island from nothing, just water, patience, and geometry. It begins, as always, with the stakes. 4 long poles driven deep into the lakebed form the corners of a rectangle. Between them, reeds are woven like baskets, crisscrossing in patterns so even they could have been drawn with a ruler. It's hard not to marvel at the precision. You can almost imagine someone saying, "Let's make it perfect, or else the gods might notice." The workers scoop up dark lake sediment, rich with fish droppings and decayed plant matter, and spread it layer by layer between the reeds. Mud, straw, roots, repeat, again and again, until the island begins to rise like a loaf of bread baking under the sun. The rhythm is mesmerizing. You can hear the occasional grunt, the squish of wet soil, the faint hum of a work song carried by the wind. Aztec design, even in mud and water, was mathematical poetry. They believed beauty wasn't decoration, it was alignment. The layout of each chinampa wasn't random but tied to sacred geometry. Every island's length and width corresponded to cosmic ratios, echoing the architecture of temples and the symmetry of the heavens. The straight canals that divided them weren't just for irrigation. They symbolized the order that holds chaos at bay. Here's a historical fact. The standard chinampa measured roughly 30 meters long and 2.5 meters wide, about the size of a small city block sliced into ribbons. Together, they formed a dense green grid visible even from a volcano's miles away. It's said that Emperor Moctezuma himself would sometimes stand on his palace balcony at dawn, gaze across the glittering expanse, and smile at how his empire literally grew on water. You bend closer, noticing how the workers use living trees, usually willows called ahujotes, to anchor each chinampa. Their roots grip the lakebed, drinking both water and sunlight, stabilizing the whole structure. It's genius-level bioengineering disguised as gardening. And yes, somewhere, a modern environmentalist just felt an inexplicable wave of joy. As the mud walls rise higher, small canals branch out from the main waterway, creating a labyrinth of liquid streets. You can almost hear the gossip of farmers shouting across the channels, comparing whose maize grows taller or whose flowers fetch better prices at the Tlatelolco market. The social web is as thick as the reeds. One of the older workers, his hair tied back with a strip of maguey fiber, pauses to trace a design in the mud with his finger. It's a spiral, then a cross, then a circle. The pattern means something. Maybe he's invoking the wind god Ehecatl, or perhaps just reminding the others that everything in this world turns in cycles. Water to soil, seed to stalk, life to death to rebirth. And that's where the divine geometry deepens. The Aztecs saw no separation between engineering and spirituality. To build a chinampa was to reenact the creation of the world, the gods forming land from primeval waters. Every island, in a way, was a miniature Earth floating on the cosmic sea. The farmers weren't just workers. They were quiet cosmologists with muddy hands. A quirky tidbit? Some records suggest the Aztecs believed each chinampa had a guardian spirit, a kind of watery house deity called Tlaltechutli. Offerings of chili, maize, or even the first flower of the season were placed on small reed altars to keep these spirits happy. A grumpy Tlaltechutli could, allegedly, make your maize wilt. Imagine losing your crop because you forgot to say good morning to your floating dirt god. The midday sun brightens the water into shards of silver. You feel warmth on your face and the faint sting of sweat. The workers keep building, their motions fluid and repetitive, and your mind begins to drift. It's easy to see why their geometry felt sacred. These repeating patterns, this harmony of angles and motion. It's hypnotic, even meditative. Historians still argue whether the precise alignments of chinampas were calculated for astronomical observation or simply the result of efficient irrigation. Were those parallel lines meant to please gods, or just to keep vegetables properly watered? The truth is lost somewhere between both explanations, between heaven and hydrology. You paddle gently through a half-finished canal, the water lapping softly against the sides. The mud smells like life itself, fermented and sweet. Tiny fish dart in the shallows. A frog watches you from a reed, unimpressed. In this landscape, everything is busy being useful, connected. Even decay is precious. The Aztecs recycled everything organic into these gardens, creating a self-sustaining cycle that modern agriculture still struggles to replicate. You watch as the builders step back, admire their work, and then plant the first seedlings: maize, beans, and squash, the three sisters that nourish their civilization. The maize shoots up tall, the beans climb its stalks, and the squash spreads low, keeping the soil moist. It's an ancient form of intercropping efficiency wrapped in myth. The air cools as evening falls, and the workers leave in their canoes, their paddles slicing smooth crescents into the water. The new Chinampa lies silent now, a dark green rectangle against the sunset. Its surface mirrors the sky so perfectly that it seems to float in both water and clouds. You feel an odd sense of peace looking at it, a kind of hum, as if the geometry itself sings a quiet note of satisfaction. The lines are straight, the corners sharp, the proportions somehow right. The Aztecs might say that in perfect symmetry, you find not beauty but truth. You just find it with muddy hands.